Welcome back, everyone. So if you've ever just sat there staring at your screen, completely frustrated by some incredibly mediocre output an AI just handed you, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today we're jumping right into this explainer on Mr. Walk's computer science course material. Specifically, we're zeroing in on Phase 5 of prompt engineering iteration. We're going to cure that frustration of getting those generic, kind of lackluster AI responses by building a systematic toolkit. We're taking your prompting from basic to brilliant.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We've got 1. The iteration mindset. 2. Debugging your first prompt. 3. Using AI to critique AI. 4. Meta-prompting and chaining. And finally, 5. Structured role-play simulations. Let's dive in.
Section 1. The iteration mindset.
To really master AI, we've got to completely dismantle this myth of the perfect first prompt. This quote right here from Mr. Walks is absolutely crucial. Iteration is not a sign that something went wrong, it is the process working as intended. You know, a skilled prompt engineer knows that their first prompt is literally just putting the car in drive. If you're expecting magic on the very first try, well, that's exactly where most people get stuck.
So, by definition, iteration means treating that first prompt as a rough draft, not a final product. It's this continuous loop of testing, evaluating, and improving. After every single AI response, you really just need to ask yourself one brilliantly simple question. Is this what I actually wanted, or did it just write me a Shakespearean sonnet when I literally asked for a weekly grocery list? Right? If the answer is no, you just cycle back and iterate.
Moving on to Section 2. Debugging your first prompt.
I want you to think of a bad AI output the exact same way a programmer thinks about a bug in computer code. You wouldn't just randomly rewrite the whole program, right? No, you run a diagnostic. First up on the checklist, was your action word too vague? I mean, notice the difference here. Asking an AI to broadly write about a topic is going to give you a totally different structure than if you specifically ask it to argue or summarize. Okay, next piece of the puzzle. Was there missing context? Did the AI actually know your target audience? Did it know the tone you wanted or the big picture goal? Because if you don't tell it, it's going to guess. And as we all know, it usually guesses wrong.
Finally, were your constraints just way too loose? A lack of clear boundaries will derail the AI so fast. Without them, it might hand you this sprawling 5-page essay when you literally just needed a concise 2-paragraph email.
Now, what's really interesting here is how taking a giant, tangled web of thoughts and breaking it into neat, shorter bursts perfectly mirrors human communication. You shouldn't, word vomit at an AI any more than you would at a real person. If you pack way too many ideas into one single prompt, the AI is just going to quietly ignore half of them. And this is absolutely crucial. If the AI replies with something like, "Hey, I assumed you wanted a formal tone," that is vital feedback. Listen to it. Reprompt by saying, "Keep the content, but let's shift to a casual tone."
Just look at how much your phrasing matters. I mean, explain photosynthesis gets you a generic, dry encyclopedia entry, but if you just tweak it to describe photosynthesis as if you're walking a student through it step by step, it dramatically shifts how the AI approaches the exact same subject. Same underlying request, entirely different framing, completely different result.
Section 3. Using AI to critique AI.
This is where things get really fun. This is where we stop relying entirely on our own judgment and actually bring the AI directly into the feedback loop. It's a super powerful cross-model strategy. So, step 1, you generate your initial draft in Model A, let's say ChatGPT. Step 2, you take that output, paste it into Model B, like Google's Gemini, and you prompt it to critique the text for logical flow and clarity. Then step 3, you take Gemini's feedback and feed it right back into ChatGPT to revise. Different models have different blind spots, you see. So using one to audit the other builds this incredible habit of treating AI output as a draft that needs to be scrutinized.
Section 4. Meta-prompting and chaining. Okay, here's where we start building some really complex scaffolding. First up is meta-prompting. Basically, this means asking the AI to generate or improve your prompt rather than having it answer your actual question directly. It's an absolute game changer for when you're stuck on phrasing or you really want to force a specific structure. For instance, you could ask the AI, "Hey, draft a prompt that forces an AI to argue against the atomic bomb from the persona of a post-war diplomat." You are quite literally using the AI to write the instructions for the AI. How cool is that?
And this sequence brilliantly illustrates prompt chaining. Instead of throwing one massive, confusing prompt at the model, we use a chain. So, prompt 1 asks for 3 reasons the League of Nations failed. That generates our raw material.
Prompt 2 then asks the AI to propose a reform based only on the biggest issue identified in Prompt 1. So now we're building on and applying that material. Finally, Prompt 3 asks for a summary of why that reform would still fail, which adds critical analysis and closes the chain. Each narrow, focused prompt acts as the scaffolding for the next one to achieve this really complex final result.
Section 5. Structured Role-Play Simulations.
We have arrived at the absolute peak of our iteration toolkit, designing sustained, multi-layered AI dialogue. To set up this simulation, we're moving way beyond just a simple one-off exchange. Step 1. Assign a role to the AI, like act as a computer science professor. Step 2. Assign a role to yourself, saying something like, I'm a first-year student preparing for an exam. And Step 3. Define a key phrase to trigger the exit. Now pay attention to that last one, because that right there is the secret sauce.
Let me show you how you actually use that key phrase. You instruct the AI. When I type end simulation, provide a concise summary of the topics we covered, my main areas of confusion, and offer actionable suggestions for how I can improve. This built-in exit gives you highly personalized coaching on your interaction. It perfectly models that vital, real-world skill of scoping a task out, executing it, and then actually stepping back to critically evaluate your own performance.
So Mr. Walsh's ultimate mantra boils down to this: evaluate critically, diagnose accurately, and revise deliberately. You know, the most effective prompt engineers in the world, they aren't the ones walking around with clever, secret opening lines. No way. They are the ones who systematically iterate. They look at a bad output, they treat it like data, they adjust their constraints, and they continuously loop until they hit the absolute bullseye.
So I'll leave you with this final thought today. Are you ready to stop accepting the first draft? The next time an AI hands you a subpar answer, I want you to remember it's not a failure. It's just step 1. It is time to start systematically debugging your prompts and unlock the true, extraordinary potential of AI. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy iterating.